What's up, everybody? You are watching the J Red Show on YouTube. The Buffalo Sabres are your 2026 Atlantic Division champions. It is the seventh overall division title in franchise history and the first in the current Atlantic Division. They clinched it by defeating the Chicago Blackhawks 5-1. Buffalo had a fantastic season that very few fans expected. And they were last place earlier this year, but they just completely turned things around when they fired general manager Kevin Adams and replaced him with Jarmo Kekalainen. A lot of fans compare this to 2005-2006. A team that almost won, that came out of nowhere, almost won the cup, in my opinion and many opinions, would have won the cup if they didn't face so many injuries in the conference finals. But when it comes to this year's team, I think there are some aspects where they are better than 05-06. I think defensively, Rasmus Dahlin, this is way better than 05-06. Rasmus Dahlin is the best defenseman in Buffalo Sabres history. Forwards, I think they're better than 05-06. Chris Drury had 30 goals. Tage Thompson has 40. And I can see a lot of comparisons of Jack Quinn to Maxim Afinogenov. Goaltending, I'll give it to Ryan Miller, but this year's Sabres have pretty good goalies. Alex Lyon, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, Ellis, they have all taken huge steps forward. They are highly skilled and dominant. They have a lot of dominant players to fill the net. Tage Thompson, Dahlin, Tuch. Tuch has 32 goals. So there's a lot of reasons for optimism. But the one reason for pessimism, I think the only thing about the Sabres team that's holding me back from planning a parade is the power play. They are currently 18th on the power play at 19.8%. They look so disorganized. They need to get rid of Seth Appert and Marty Wilford and find some power play specialists if they don't win the Stanley Cup this year. I think that will ultimately doom them. But I do think they will defeat the Boston Bruins in round one. I think the Sabres have this one. I think they just have more depth. I think the Sabres have better goaltending. I think they stand a much better chance against Boston than against Ottawa, which they would have faced if Boston didn't win today. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some reasons why this will favor the Bruins. Goaltending favor the Bruins. Bruins can balance out their lines. The number 2 set. But I think Buffalo's going to win this series. When I think about this team, don't get me wrong, I am very happy that they won the division. After 14 years of missing the playoffs, we finally have a good team. But one thing that annoys me is they did not give the most amount of effort until Kevin Adams got fired. Now, I've heard a lot of people say that there's a psychological aspect of working for a GM with no experience. I can see, I don't know. What Paul Hamilton said this: if you need a coach, or in this case, a general manager, to get the most amount of effort out of you, you do not belong in the National Hockey League. They are professional athletes. They are amongst the best in the world. They get paid millions of dollars. You would think they would try their best every game. Treat all the games the same. Treat Game 82 of an eliminated season the same way you treat Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. I don't know. But I can't complain much. I'm really happy this season. I'm hoping they'll go deep in the playoffs. Maybe win the cup, but the power play concerns me. What are your thoughts on the Jared Show? Buffalo Bandits are on a roll. After a 3-5 start and what I thought was the end of their dynasty, they are currently on a 6-game win streak, defeating the Rochester Nighthawks 12-6. I'm just amazed with this Bandits team because how they're managed to sustain the success. You look at what happened to the Kansas City Chiefs, what happened to the Florida Panthers. Father's Time is undefeated. I thought that was the case with the Bandits, but nope. They're on a roll and they made it to the playoffs and they could win their 4th championship in a row. About that Bats game, a solid workman effort. Once it got to 4-1, the seal of the game was in doubt. Defense is solid. Matt Vegas just continues to lead the team. One of McConnell's long-term future here. Tavares was occasionally started Dooley and Coffey in, like addition them for the future. A couple of screws that got through Hartley certainly helped the cause. The beginning of the season, they weren't getting those breaks. The last 3 combined games allowed was the fewest allowed goals in franchise history. I mean, Matt Vink just is like an ageless wonder. He's like LeBron James. He's getting up there in age, but he's still playing at a great level. Well, LeBron James is starting to regress. He's a shell of his former self, but he's still a great player. Matt Vink is just an ageless wonder. Like I said, what the biggest question mark with the Sabres is can they overcome the power play? But with the Bandits, the question mark is how much gas do they have left in the tank? I mean, as I said, Father Time is still undefeated. Eventually, this dynasty will collapse. But it's not going to happen this year, so... Well, it could. We'll see what happens in the playoffs, but... And finally, the Rochester Americans, who currently have, with 3 games left, are currently a 31-29, 5-4 for 71 points. They are 1 point away from clinching a playoff spot. But unlike the Sabres and the Bandits, I have no optimism for this team. They are just not good, and the only reason they're in the playoffs is because the AHL has a convoluted playoff system which allows a 5th team to go in. And they're probably going to be demolished in the first round. I guess if I was to conjure any kind of optimism, I had no optimism for the Sabres heading this season. I thought the Bandits window closed. I hated the pick of Josh Allen. So I hope the Amerks can continue this tradition of making me eat crow. I've been disappointed in their coach, Michael Leone. Last year I thought he was better than Seth Appert. This year, with less to work with, I don't think he's risen to the occasion. In fact, the way he caved to being on the Sabres billboard speaks volumes. You always gotta wonder what an AHL coach says, what he thinks he feels about how much to be directed by the parent club. He reminds me of Ben Grew. Although that's just my opinion. Some people have argued that he's done the best he can given the circumstances. The Amerks just don't have a very good team this year. But as I said, we will see how these playoffs go. Finally, the Yankees today lost 7-1 to the Angels, and this season's falling apart. I mean, it's too early to hit the panic button. I expect the Yankees to get healthy and get better. But this is looking like another so-so season. With just the good, they'll eventually get on a hot streak and make it interesting. But the pitch is just letting them down. I don't trust Aaron Judge to deliver in the clutch, so we'll see what happens. NBA playoffs, the Trailblazers lead the Suns 83-79 in the play-in round. We'll see if LeBron James has one more championship in him. Arsenal leads the Premier League with 70 points, a little bit ahead of Manchester City. That's all I have for today. What are your thoughts? Hit me on Twitter at JRedShow, and I will see you later.